In much of the ancient world, the sacred was integrated and embodied in every part of life. Transcendent intuitive energy was the primary method of perception, and that came before physical lower self, ego form, and material density. Consciousness could once again elevate and transcend into many actively perceiving in a new way with expanded awareness. Prophecies around the world talk about this. Since then, much of this heightened energy has dropped, but consciousness can once again elevate and transcend into many actively perceiving in a new way with expanded awareness. And I just wanted to bring that in to begin with, just to sort of tap into what's there within nature itself. Because nature itself is a guide. And anyone who spends enough time in nature, in a natural world, in a natural environment, in the elements, begins to perceive that there's much more going on within nature than just a sort of 5-sense view of what's there. In order to get there, in where a person is physically perceiving beyond the density of thoughts and beliefs, we have to really use our feeling senses. And in order to feel everything that's in the environment, within nature, as I said, as nature is a guide, and it has teaching. And if anyone who goes and spends enough time in nature can learn a lot about themselves, can learn a lot about their history, can learn a lot about, health and healing and vitality and feeling grounded and feeling a connection to the earth. In the city, you're surrounded by electromagnetic fields, cell towers, distractions galore, cars, people, planes, any number of distractions that can almost prohibit a person from really being able to reflect. And that's one thing nature really brings, an ability to reflect, ability to clearly ground and heighten the energy that is there. Because there's a flow within nature. Taoists call it the Tao, and it's just a movement of energy. And look at the terms human nature. What does that term signify? That humans are not separate from nature, and that nature is tied together with being human, and that how humans perceive reality is through nature, through a natural environment, through the natural world. And I want to begin with the element of water. I want to talk a little bit about water. Water is essential to all life here on Earth. And there's parts of the world right now that are literally running out of water, and other parts of the world that are flooding. The water you consume, how is it? Where does it come from? Most people drink water from a tap. But I'd like to bring into that here in America, the pipes from the water were, for the most part, put in by the Lincoln administration, and for the most part haven't been replaced since then. And the quality of the water is questionable, but, I'm not going to get into that much either. But what kind of water is really safe and good and vital to drink? And I really, really, really love spring water from the source. And I've been drinking spring water for about three years or so. And it has a different feel to it. When you go to a spring and fill up your water, it is a living water. Whereas something from a tap or something from a bottle, you don't feel that sort of life in it. But spring water is literally living water. And there's a few springs left in the natural world. And they're worth going and checking out. If you've never been to a spring, if you've never gathered your own water, if you've never tried it, I would encourage that. And, it's something to do. And I also wanted to talk about just swimming in water. spending time in the natural water we have here. If you've ever swam in like an open lake or, a sort of natural environment, there's a sort of different feel to it than, a chlorine pool. And if you've never done that, I would encourage you to do that, just to spend time and really, through your feeling senses, engage what that's like and what's going on there. And lastly, about water, I wanted to talk about a process called hydrotherapy. I don't know if you've ever heard of hydrotherapy. That's all right if you haven't. But what that is a movement of water between hot and cold. And in healing, they use hydrotherapy to increase circulation, any number of I'll just go ahead and get into what it is. First, you would run hot water in a shower for 15 seconds, and then you'd switch to as cold as you can get it for 15 seconds, and then you go back to hot for 15 seconds, and then you go back to cold you can for 15 seconds, and you do that as many times as you can. And there's actually clinics that do this in Europe. I don't think there are any in America, but there's clinics where they do this in Europe for healing, because the hot water brings out the blood circulation, and the cold water retracts it. And so what it does is just gets everything moving really, really quick. And, if that's something you want to do, try it. I just wanted to mention it and felt to mention it. All right. The next thing I'm going to talk about is the element of earth, of being grounded, of spending time in nature, walking barefoot. If you walk barefoot, you can physically feel the free electrons coming up from the earth. And letting that energy from up from the earth go throughout your entire body. And, I perceived that at many of the sacred sites when I went to Peru, where you could literally feel the energy coming up through the ground. Albeit, I don't feel that as much here in America. Maybe it's all in my head, could be. But, yeah, just through your feeling senses, go out into nature and walk around barefoot. Engage what you feel. Really sense what's there. And really track how that's affecting you. And just try it, If you feel to, try it. I'm not trying to tell anyone what to do or how to live their life. I have zero interest in doing that. I just came to share this with you today. And also with earth, we have gardening. I plant a garden every year, and I really, really, really enjoy it. It's something that to anyone who gardens, you immediately feel a connection to the earth. And it creates a sort of symbiosis with the gardener and the person and the environment. And it also leads to a new appreciation of, natural weather cycles, appreciation of rain, appreciation of growth. And to those that, have never had a garden before, you could just buy a plant, But I really love having a garden every year, and I really look forward to it. It's something that's very inspirational, and something that's very healing, and something that's, I just love doing. And now we'll talk about the element of fire. Now, when I think of fire, I think of a sacred fire. I think of cleansing. I think of purification. And much of sacred fire is for cleansing, or sacred fire, could have a specific intent. To those of you that have been to sacred fires, it's a different type of energy than just a regular cooking fire. It has an intent. It has an essence to it. It has a sort of animate, living, sentient presence. And, fire can be used for purification, can be used for healing. And if you've never just been outside making a fire, camping, it's something to do if you've never done it. And next I want to talk about, I'm going to get more into this later, when I think of the fire element, I think of sunlight. So that's actually the next thing I'm going to talk about. We have air, through the clock of creation. We did a talk on breathing and the breath and deep breathing. And something when you're out in nature, you breathe a different quality of air. And I can really notice that whenever I am, just in the forest. You can immediately notice that clean air and almost the lack of effort to really breathe in the life of nature. And nature, being in nature, being around plants give you energy. Mountains give you energy. They emanate the light. And just being around a plant, being around a garden, being in nature is restorative. And that's why when a lot of people go out and spend time in nature, they feel renewed. They feel restored. They feel grounded. They feel clear. And also with air, I wanted to talk about sage and incense. Probably many of you have used sage before, and I really like sage to clear houses. You can basically clear the energy in your entire house by just burning sage and basically bringing it to every room, everywhere in your house. Perceive and feel what's going on with that and what's going on there when you were to bring sage throughout your entire house. And you can do the same thing with incense, with Palo Santo, which is a tree from Peru, which means holy wood. And they use it a lot for ceremonies, for clearing. And also, if you've never smudged or been smudged with Palo Santo or sage, I would recommend it. And what that is just basically bringing sage or bringing Palo Santo and moving it around someone's energetic body. And perceive how that person feels before and after, you do this. Perceive what's going on if you attempt to do that. It's just something I wanted to mention. And also with the four elements, I wanted to bring in sound itself. Because a lot of times we lose sight of the natural sort of rhythms and sound. The sound of birds chirping, the sound of waterfalls, the sound of chimes, and all these natural sounds that are almost around us. But, here in the city, like where I am right now, we don't always have access to that sort of clean and purifying sound and the effect they have just within consciousness. And now I wanted to talk a little bit about the animate and the inanimate world. Because mountains are living, forests are living, waters are living. To really get in and perceive the living animate essence of a mountain, of water, because just like humans, mountains have aura. And I saw that when I was in Peru. If you're out near a mountain, just be focused, or stare, and don't think about it. And there's almost like a veil around it, and that is the aura of the mountain. It's a living presence. It has you. And it's the same thing with trees and plants that emanate energy. Nature restores and gives energy. And one thing I wanted to mention before I open back up the line, it's a quote, but I don't have per se the quote here word for word. And it was by a man named Rudolf Steiner. And he talked about, to anyone who purchases a plot of land, and if they live in that environment for 3 years, he said that the plants that come up around that person's, house or land that they bought contribute and are symbiotically involved directly with the person living there. That is to say, the person there and the plants that are naturally growing come basically as healing to that person. I would encourage you to look at the plants growing naturally around your house. Learn a little bit about them, what their medicinal purposes are, what their healing purposes are, because often the plants growing right in our backyard, our front yard, are so healing, and we don't even know what they are. And with that, I'm going to open the line, and if anyone wants to share anything about that, you can feel free to before we start with the next one. So I will unmute everyone, and hopefully it looks like everyone's still here, so that's good. Hello? Is anybody here?
Joseph, yes. For the last 6 years, every time I walk outside of my house and look up, all I see are chemtrails, and I can't enjoy nature or anything else because I feel that we're being assaulted. Humanity and the entire natural world is under assault through chemtrails. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I do. I understand what that is and the sort of particulate matter spraying, albeit whatever the purpose for it is, whether it's, climate or whether it's something else, is debatable, and I don't claim to know. But yeah, it is real. But also at the same time, what we focus our direct attention on, the things that we can do about, within our lives, within our bodies, rather than I can't go outside today because the sky is sprayed with all this stuff, It is what it is, and it's going to be there. And I don't know what to tell you that can be done about that. But at the same time, I just feel that they're staying inside and basically insulating themselves from the natural world is much more damaging than being out in it.
Yeah, I feel that way too. Like where I live, even if I'm just in a condo or a townhouse, I have to have access to the outside. Some of these places don't have any. You can't just walk outside or get on your deck or something. I have to have that. I need a lot of light.
Well, everyone does.
That's where you have to be. In Denver, there's sunlight every day. So.
And where are you at now?
Denver.
Oh, all right. Well, great. Anyone else have anything they would like to share in that regard?
Well, the elements I found very interesting, that you were talking about them. Of course, I always think immediately of astrology just because I love it. And that's kind of cool, too, just that, we all resonate with that, the elements and the ancient world. And Rudolf Steiner actually used to belong to a farm that it's biodynamics, I believe, right? Is that what it's called?
I'm not sure exactly of the origin of that, but yeah.
Yeah, very cool stuff. And I also can relate with what Cindy says about the chemtrails. I get infuriated when I see it. I'm like, because, but I feel like we're being woken up too. I think that I feel very protective, and also, and Mother Earth. I mean, Earth is our mother, and she's strong, and she's, going to send out her signals, and she does, But
yeah, definitely. But what I want to say about that is, really what you put your focus and invest your attention into is what your reality is going to be. Mm-hmm. So as there's always going to be obstacles in life, they're always going to be there, and then we can each do our part in whatever way and we're guided to. But at the same time, to perpetually engage the lower self about issues in the world, and because there's a lot of voices in the world about what's going on in the world, and not all of them are clear, and a lot of them are just basically shadow projections, more or less, ranting and raving about what's going on in the world. And it's easy to get sort of sucked into listening to that sort of talk radio doom and gloom. But what I want to focus on, and what I feel to focus on, is what's really beneficial and what's healing and what's right in my life. But, all right, with that, I will go ahead, and if anyone else wants to share anything before we go ahead and talk a little bit about sunlight.
Yes, this
well,
is Celine.
I want to talk about xeriscape, because my sister's a horticulturist, so she found close to my house there's a police station, and they have a whole area where the only thing that grows there is just what grows here. They don't add any water, they don't put any plants, no seeds or anything. And so you could see sort of what this was like, and that was on my list of what I was thankful for a few days. You know, that I was thankful because we had a xeriscape and I could see it, and it was close by and all that. And
no, I'm trying to understand. What's the word you said? Something scape? I didn't hear what you said.
Xeriscape. It means there's zero intervention to what's growing there.
Oh, all right. I didn't see that.
If there's enough water, something will grow there. If there's enough sun, something will grow there. You know. So anyway, after I focused on that, I came in contact with the maintenance of where I live, and he showed me where there was a xeriscape on this property, and he told me that if I wanted to, I could work with that. So I really liked what you said about, you know, like if I walk on that xeriscape, that will change what's growing in there.
Yeah, it definitely will. Just the movement there, spreading seeds, and just with the place you live at. You know, right now maybe you don't have many plants around that, but the same sort of thing. The plants in our immediate environment symbiotically relate to what's going on inside of us. And I think that's the point that Rudolf Steiner was trying to make with that quote I had read or interpreted as what it was. But
so if I go there barefoot in that xeriscape, and you go there, it will have something a little bit different. It might even have the same plant, but that plant will produce what you need if you're the one walking there, or what I need if I'm the one that's walking there.
It's a symbiotic relationship. You know, it's not like one person goes there and it changes for them. It you know, people in consciousness, wherever people go, they affect everything around them, whether they're conscious of it or not. And this especially becomes true the more conscious you become, the more physical light a person takes on, the more their energetic body strengthens, the more that affects everyone and everything around them, for better or for worse, you know. And it's the same thing, too, with everyone. You know, if you go out in nature or you're around plants, it's the same sort of thing, that the sort of phytochemicals and things in the plant are directly linked to what's going on inside you, because there's no separation between nature and humans. It's human nature. It's the same thing. Yeah, and my understanding and experience of plants is that they're very intelligent, and they communicate in different ways. than humans, and they work with each other in a very sort of intelligent way. But, to really tap into that and perceive that, I really have to be out of the mind, so to speak. But I will go ahead and talk a little bit about sunlight, unless there's anyone else who wants to share something right now. All right. Anyone? All right. Well, I will put it on mute for a minute. Computer messed up. That is no good. I guess I'll just leave it open. It doesn't seem like there's any real loud noises other than the laughter. And sunlight. There are many physical properties to sunlight. And just as plants are just like humans, in many aspects, humans are just like plants, that the more physical light a person gets, the more oxygen, the more water, the less physical fuel, the less food a person really needs, and the more time a person really spends out in sunlight, in nature. I've noticed just like even the spring, just the beginning of spring, right when it comes, I really don't eat as much food as I normally would, just because I'm being fed in another way. And sunlight does that. And sunlight also produces a hormone in your body, and that hormone is called vitamin D. It's not a vital amine, it is actually a hormone. But the way that a person can really uptake vitamin D is they have to be out in the sun, and for, I think it's 24 or 48 hours after that, you have to basically not wash or take a shower for 24 or 48 hours, and then the vitamin D basically uptakes in your body. Because many people, after they spend a long day out in nature, they'll wash it all off because it's produced in the skin. And vitamin D prevents cancer, heart disease, diabetes, boosts bone density and immune function, prevents infectious diseases, and many, many other things. Sunlight can also send cancer into remission. I'm not making any medical claims with that, but just the light itself. And often it's taught that being out in sun can cause, physical conditions. It can cause skin conditions. It can for some people, but it really depends on what's underneath their skin, because basically sunlight brings out what's naturally in your body, so there's a lot of toxicity there. It can bring out abnormal conditions, but at the same time, it's a healing process, bringing those things out. Sunlight kills bacteria, it kills bad bacteria, and just being out in the sun can do that. And it has a beneficial effect on skin disorders, acne, eczema, fungal infections on the skin. Just being in sunlight, lowers blood pressure. Significantly lowers blood pressure with high blood pressure. And it also, being in the sun, cleanses the blood and blood vessels. And sunlight itself increases oxygen in human blood. It enhances the body's capacity to deliver oxygen to the tissues, very similar to the effect of exercise. It has a great effect on stamina, fitness, and muscular development. And sunlight also builds the immune system. And also, if you have children, you want to let them be outside and be kids, because sunlight exposure increases the growth and height of children. Just if you have kids, bring them outside and let them learn from nature. Let them understand and explore and play and spend time out in nature. Just doing that, is so healing for people, and it just has a way to sort of rewire people to having a more natural connection in life, a more natural experience of what's here. Sun exposure in the first few months of life has an effect on how tall a person grows in their life. And sunlight is also good for depression. Sunlight deprivation can cause a condition called seasonal affective disorder, a form of depression. It is more common in the winter months, but also common for people who work long hours in office buildings and in unnatural environments around those other types of light. Exposure to the sun should be incremental and slowly. If you're not used to it, then your skin will be more sensitive to it. I'm the kind of person, I'll go and get a sunburn every year or a couple, just because I'm rather fairly complected. But at the same time, I feel like I don't try to burn too much, but I can understand the benefits of just being and growing like a plant does. Humans are symbiotically a lot like plants. And they don't really need a lot of fuel. They just need water and sunlight and really clean air. And humans are the same way. But oftentimes we get caught up in eating for pleasure, and eating foods that aren't nutrient dense. So a lot of times in consuming foods that aren't nutrient dense, you'll need to eat a whole lot more in order to feel like you're full. Because the more healthful and vital foods you consume, the really less you need to physically eat, because your body will feel full. And other cultures eat smaller portions than here in America, but at the same time, like Japanese eat a very healthy diet for the most part, but they eat very small portions. But at the same time, the content in their food is a lot cleaner. And it's the same for most of the world. Getting sunlight during the day can keep you more alert at night. And different, let's see here. Sunlight has pain-killing effects. Patients exposed to increased intensity of sunlight experience less perceivable stress, marginally less. Sunlight burns fat. The exposure to UV in the skin can cause fat metabolism and metabolize fat. And also, when I'm outside, I feel almost a connection to the light itself. And, if I am outside in nature, just in my own backyard, I feel a connection to the light everywhere I go. But to those that spend much time indoors, you may not feel that sort of connection there. In the same way, plants or other forms of life may feel that. And I laid out in the sun for a couple hours today, and walked around. Beautiful day, absolutely gorgeous, and just feeling that was very healing. And daytime sunlight exposure improves evening alertness. I think that's about all I wanted to cover with sunlight, the light itself. There are two forms of light. This is a quote: two forms of light, the glow that illumines and the glare that obscures. And light can be used to reveal in this world. It can be used to illuminate things. But also in this world, it can be used to obscure things, to hide things at the same time. It has that sort of dual function in and of itself. But nature and being in nature is healing. And that's basically what I wanted to get across, just to communicate today. Just being out in nature, listening to the sounds, the colors, the movement there, really being immersed in that. air, the energy, all of it. And if you have kids, take them outside, show them around, teach them things, do what you can. I'm not trying to tell people what to do or how to live their life or anything like that, But they can be so big to a person when they're young. Just being outside can affect their life in so many ways, improve their health in so many ways. Furthermore, I'll left this out, sunlight also increases bone health, anti-cancer, supports the immune system, protects against dementia and brain aging. It's essential for decreasing symptoms of asthma, and it strengthens your teeth, which is great. And with that, I think I probably covered about everything with sunlight. And I will go ahead and open the line once more and chat back with you. Hello, everybody here?
Joseph, it's my understanding that we have an epidemic of a deficiency in D3 due to the sun being blocked by chemtrails. Might you have an idea of how I could approach this not from my lower self under these circumstances?
Well, that's all good and well. You can put everything to chemtrails, but I'm not really trying to engage or perpetuate something that would really distract from the energy of this. I know it's important, but there's plenty of places in the world where there aren't chemtrails, and I'm not trying to go to chemtrails.
Well, the chemtrails are worldwide, reported worldwide. So I didn't know whether there were any place in the world where they do not exist. I wasn't aware of that.
I don't see them here in Louisville, not very often. I don't focus on them just because I have other things in my life I like to do.
And so I just have one more question about it. If I understand what you're saying, and I know that I absolutely focus on them and a lot of other atrocities way too much, but my question is this. If I just ignore them, then am I not just falling into the New Age trap of I'm not going to look at that so it doesn't exist?
No, I just want to bring about the point that what you put your attention into manifests itself in the physical world. So if you're physically focused on chemtrails, you're physically going to be doing things to your body that aren't good and don't feel good. But I'm not telling you to ignore the world itself. I don't know what to tell you, just what you could physically do. I mean, there's plenty of things you can do to protect yourself from a natural or unnatural or toxic world. But I'm not going to live inside all day in fear of chemtrails. I just don't have time for that,
This is Celine.
Yeah, Celine.
This is Celine. And when chemtrails became really big, I noticed them. But I live in Chicago, and I think when there's a blue sky that's there all day, like it was today, the chemtrails aren't as active. And I was watching how the sky would be blue in the morning, and then with the planes going by, they would turn completely white because the chemtrails kind of blot the sky out. But I think if your intention is to get the solar energy from the sun, then you'll get it. And also I was going to throw in that this August I had taken 3 months off work, and I was outside every single day, and I exposed my face to the sun, and my skin looks amazing as a result. And I was staring into the sun, and I was walking barefoot, and I lost weight being out every day. So I am inside with the fluorescent lights all day, but I think with the daylight savings time, I am getting more energy, and I'm going to make it a point to get more natural sunlight. And I'm glad my teeth are stronger.
That's great. That's great, Celine. I appreciate that. And I wanted to talk a little bit. I'll just go ahead and leave the lines open just because we're getting sort of close, maybe another 10 minutes or so. But I wanted to talk a little bit about spring cleaning, getting rid of all those old documents and papers you collect every year, those old bills you store in some box that you probably really don't need. Yeah, throw those out. And I like to, go through even my clothes every year. Just look for clothes that I don't wear anymore and just get rid of it, donate it, get rid of it. And look around the energy of where you live right now. Perceive it. Feel it. Does it flow? Is there energy moving through your house right now? Or does it feel stuck? Does it feel blocked? And look to that, with cleaning, with spring cleaning. And I just wanted to share that because there's many environments in the world that can feel stuck. And many people collect things and store things and feel like they are so attached and can't live without this one thing, but at the same time having all those things in their house, the energy can't move. The energy can't flow. And just for that, I would encourage people just to look to what makes a clear flow in your house. And look at the energy of everything you bring into your house. And Feng Shui, they talk about this, just to really know where everything came from in your house. And, what exactly that is. Do you want that in your house or not? Is it carrying, old stuff in it? Is it clean? Because everything has an energy to it. In your house, in your environment, in your life, everything. And anyone have anything to share in regards to that?
I have to break my garage sale addiction. But, I totally, it is overwhelming, and it does block energy. It's just like, oh, my God, what happened here? But, it's inspiring, though. I'm inspired now to spring clean and to get a lawn chair on my lunch break and get out there.
Yeah, a few weeks ago, back at the beginning of spring, I decided to basically clean everything in my house. Threw away a bunch of stuff, mainly, old paperwork that I thought, I would need it, that big, gigantic box of every bill and every document I've saved in the past several years. So I got rid of that, and that felt good. And cleaned all the dirt and the grime and the dust, especially. There's a lot of dust accumulating. And, it felt good, but I almost feel like at the same time, the less stuff I have and hold on to, the easier, energy moves, the easier energy flows just in a house. There's many times I've been in a house, it just feels tight and cramped and stuck, and, it's good to get it moving, get it going, to get rid of what's there that is really just blocking the natural flow. And I want to share that.
Thank you.
Well, I've been obsessed with watching Hoarders on Netflix, so I'm so glad I'm not a hoarder, but I love garage sales too.
Yeah, I've never actually watched that show, but I've seen it in real life many times.
Yeah. Well, my thing is...
Hey, guys, this is...
Oh, I'm sorry.
This is Natalie. Oh, I'm sorry, too. That's okay. I just wanted to let you all know I joined a little late and have been listening in for a while, but just want to let you know I was here. I did want to say something a little bit about the chemtrail comments and concerns.
Sure.
I've done a little bit of reading on it, but not a lot, but I would just first to recommend that you really highly question the sources of information, because there are a lot of fear mongers out there that want to hype it up as this profound catastrophe when, in fact, yes, our government and researchers do studies with our atmosphere. It's unfortunate, but it's the truth. Now, whether or not every airplane that takes off has chemical-laden fuel is another question. It's another issue altogether. So I just want to caution our minds to that. Like you were mentioning, whatever we put attention to will obviously exponentially grow and affect us, and to just be careful what you let in and who you trust with the information that you're letting in.
Yeah. So I think that's a great comment, and I've done extensive research on chemtrails, and I think that you might want to look into transhumanism, the definition of transhumanism, and that we may be inhaling electroconductive nanofibers every day. And there's a lot of other explanations for them too, but I'm not a fearmonger, and I've been around the wheel with this doing a lot of research, so I think it would behoove everybody to look into it a little bit more. When there's something strange being sprayed in our sky that's spreading out instead of dissipating like it should, we should all pay attention.
Yes, and there's toxins in every aspect of modern human life. There's toxins in the food, there's toxins in the water. But I'm not here to perpetuate about toxins. I'm here to promote whatever solutions there are. Not to saying I'm burying my head in the sand. I've heard of exactly what you're talking about, and I know about it. But at the same time, talking and engaging problems through a sort of without engaging the solutions is just kind of distracting, and there are an infinite number of ways to really get healthy and helpful and clean and clear of all of the thousands of chemicals and pollutants. Even just the pollutants in jet fuel itself are toxic, and there's toxic chemicals in everything, but not really my focus. I just want to try to stay as healthy as I can in whatever way I can and help other people to do the same. I'm not trying to ignore. I'm not trying to say certain things are a certain way or aren't, or tell people what to believe. I have no interest in that. I
have a lot of interest in what you said about water and how important water is. And my family, we had to go to the ocean like once or twice per year. And my father told us that that's how you stay healthy. And also, when you were talking about water, it just made me think of this 30-hour trip down the Amazon, and we were just in a small boat. It had like a little motor on it because it was 30 feet long. And that motor broke, and up until then, I just thought we were the only ones there, just our boat of, people. And when that thing broke, the whole water, and the Amazon's real wide. It's like an 8-foot wide highway of our traffic, and the whole thing was just covered with these people from the Amazon that were coming out, and they were in these like dugout canoes. It was sort of just looked like a log in a lot of ways, but they had oars, and they were coming over, and I thought, oh my God, I didn't know there were all these people here. And they knew we were there, but we didn't know they were there. And they were coming out there to just help us.
That's amazing. I heard just last week or a couple weeks ago they are still finding new tribes in I think this was over in Africa, but they're so dense, those woods, and they know it like the back of their hands. It's just like us hitting our highways. They could hit a trail and probably go 20 miles a day, no big deal.
And those
it was
people's
so quiet. so peaceful, and yet there were all those people.
And those people, many of those people's lives depend on forests. Many of the indigenous cultures around the world, their lives depend upon the forest that they live in. And I want to talk a little bit about trees, but I'll make this brief. This is 21 reasons why forests are important. One, I'll just go over which is essential. They help us breathe. They're more than just trees. People live there too. They keep us cool. They keep the earth cool. They make it rain. They fight flooding. They refill aquifers. They block wind. They keep dirt in its place. They clean up dirty soil. They clean up dirty air. They muffle noise pollution. They feed us. They give us medicine. They make things. They create jobs. They create majesty, and probably the most important one, they help us explore and relax. Relaxing.
I think I read somewhere that the rainforest is like the lungs of the planet, like something like that. So I guess that would be trees too, right?
Carries an enormous amount of oxygen-dense environment. And, yeah, that's where most of the oxygen is generated, I would say. That and the ocean itself and the plants growing there.
Oh, they had pink dolphins down there in the Amazon.
I'd love to add a little something, too, about the forest and a little anecdote just to kind of give an example of how everything in moderation is good and some things natural are good, whereas in their synthetic chemical form might not be as well received. For instance, that with formaldehyde. And I'm sure if any of you are on the West Coast or have been paying any attention to the furniture or home health, air quality issues, that formaldehyde is one of the highly targeted known carcinogen. But it's also, it's been taken out of all these products for our homes, right? But if you walk into a forest during the fall when the leaves are decaying, or if there's a lot of decay going on in the forest at the time, like be it wood or otherwise, which is always taking place, the background level of your forest is higher than the minimum requirements for your chair in your living room. So when you breathe that in, and it's also, associated with cigarettes. So it's like, it can get a very bad rap, but it's also a very natural thing that our body produces and metabolizes. So it's just something that I've always thought very interesting because I had the experience with formaldehyde to do my work for a number of years. And what it's being replaced with are these chemicals, these plastics and plasticizers and cross-linkers that aren't metabolizable in our body, and they aren't natural in nature. But because of all this fear around formaldehyde and these different large companies trying to get it outlawed so that they can sell more latex or more whatever, it's not as natural. And the consumer doesn't necessarily know that. So I'm not here to promote anything chemical or otherwise, but I just wanted to share that because it's just an example of how something's taken out of context or from the wrong source of information, or even source in general, be it, a reactor making formaldehyde or the forest making formaldehyde. Which one would you choose? So, it's just things taken out. You have to consider the context, and I just think it's curious how some things can just be taken so far in an extreme when here it's one of the most natural things we have.
Yeah, there's moderation. Yeah, and the same goes with plants. It's some plants are very highly toxic, but at the same time, a very small dose of that plant can be very, healing. But a very large dose could be deadly.
And very natural. Very natural. I always get so frustrated when everybody's like, "Oh, it's all natural." I'm like, "Yeah, so is hemlock." So killing us. So maybe that's the case with some formaldehyde too, but I just love the smell of the forest in the fall. I mean, I can't get enough of it. and I don't think that's going to lead me astray, you know.
Not at all. But it looks like we're getting pretty close to the end. But before we close, I just wanted to read something to you. It's short, you know. It's just a couple lines. But I just wanted to close with saying this. The real work is about you taking care of your own house, your own garden. And if everybody did that, unseen forces would come to aid. Think about that.
That's nice.
And Fran will be back next week. She's at some sort of disaster training. There is, she's doing disaster training. And it came up on a Monday night. It's for, you know, emergency type events and situations, and, you know, just ways she can learn to help out. And she'll be back next week with that. So I really appreciate your all's presence in this call tonight and what you shared. And if you're here next week, I will see you then.
Okay. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Joseph. That was really
Thank you.
enlightening.
Well, thank you all. Have a good night.
Thanks.
You
Good night,
too.
everybody.
Good night.
Bye-bye.